On a chilly afternoon, Andrew Myers, an elderly man with a simple appearance and calm demeanor, walked into a luxury car dealership located in the city center. Dressed in a worn out, frayed coat and well used shoes, Andrew looked completely out of place amidst the modern, glossy interior of the dealership. The cars on display gleamed under the lights, creating an atmosphere full of ostentation and showiness. The customers here are mostly well dressed individuals, exuding wealth and success, while the staff are always on standby with a confident and somewhat arrogant demeanor. However, Andrew did not care whether he fit into this scene or not. He simply came to look for a new car to replace the old sedan that had served him faithfully for over a decade. Although his purpose was very clear, from the moment he stepped into the dealership, Andrew realized that his presence was hardly noticed. The staff, especially Garrett Blake, a young man with slicked back gel hair and a smug attitude, seemed to deliberately ignore his presence. They were busy attending to the customers they deemed more important, those who wore elegant suits and exuded an air of wealth. This lack of respect immediately creates a tense atmosphere, subtly hinting at the main conflict in the story. Andrew, with his humble appearance but full of inner strength, had no idea that this meeting would become a major turning point, not only for him but also change the entire fate of this agency. As Andrew quietly walked past the gleaming cars on display, his gaze stopped on a striking all-black sedan in the corner of the showroom. He stood gazing at the car with a pensive expression, his hand gently gliding over the shiny surface as if imagining himself driving it on familiar roads. However, even though Andrew clearly showed interest in the car, no staff member approached to assist or inquire about his needs. Meanwhile, around him, the atmosphere was unusually bustling. The staff in their neat suits quickly approached the elegantly dressed guests, always ready to flash a professional smile and offer sweet invitations. Andrew, with his simple appearance, was almost completely overlooked by the staff, as if he were an invisible part of the room. Especially Garrett Blake, a young sales associate, distinguished by his slicked back hair and overly confident demeanor, is the most vivid embodiment of disdain. When Garrett's gaze swept over Andrew for a brief moment, he smirked and immediately turned to greet a well-dressed couple who had just walked in. The warm greetings for that couple only highlighted the complete indifference that Andrew had to endure. Not only did he ignore him, but Garrett also showed a lack of respect when Andrew, after a long wait, approached the reception desk to ask for assistance. When Andrew politely asked, "Could I get someone to help me learn more about that car?" Garrett, without bothering to look up from his phone, curtly replied, "We're busy. You can come back later." The peak of disdain came when Andrew had just turned away. Garrett, with a voice loud enough for those around to hear, let out a sarcastic mockery, wasting time on those who only look but never buy. A faint laugh from a few other employees made Andrew realize that this attitude did not come from just one individual, but also reflected a pervasive culture of prejudice at this dealership. Garrett's and the other employees' disdain not only offended Andrew, but also stirred within him a deep disappointment, mixed with a smoldering anger. Those mocking remarks touched Andrew's self-esteem, but he maintained his composure, quietly stepping out of the dealership, leaving behind an environment filled with arrogance and discrimination. Outside, Andrew maintained his calm demeanor and familiar quiet composure as he stepped out of the car dealership. However, within him, a deep sense of disappointment and shame began to creep in, like an incessant wave stirring his mind. The mockery he heard, along with the indifference and contempt he had to endure, left a deep wound in his heart. He not only felt offended by the employee's behavior, but also saddened by the realization that injustice and inhumanity still exist in the way people judge each other based solely on appearances. However, Andrew is not someone easily swayed by negative emotions. He had spent his entire life building a career from scratch, and it was the difficult challenges that taught him how to control his emotions and think strategically in every situation. Although he felt disappointed, he did not let anger take over his mind. Instead, he quietly thought about how to turn this humiliation into a lesson and an opportunity for change. When sitting in his old sedan, Andrew couldn't stop thinking about how the dealership staff had treated him. He knew well that the contempt was not just a personal issue, but also a manifestation of a system rife with prejudice and lacking kindness. Having been the head of many businesses, he understood that corporate culture is built from the very actions of employees and leaders. They not only insulted me, but they also insulted their own professional values, he told himself. In that moment, a powerful idea emerged in Andrew's mind. His plan for revenge was not to satisfy his pride or anger, but to teach the people there a profound lesson about how to treat others. He decided that instead of simply ignoring this, he would take action to completely change the toxic work culture he had just witnessed. Andrew quickly made a plan in his mind. He knew he had enough resources, from financial to business connections, to make a big move. With quiet yet steadfast determination, he began to outline each specific step. That evening, as the lights from the skyscrapers illuminated the road ahead, Andrew made a few important calls that would forever change the fate of this car dealership. Andrew didn't look back as he drove away from the dealership, but in his eyes reflected determination and a glimmer of hope. This is not just a story about responding to a disrespectful act, but an opportunity for him to create meaningful change, not only for himself, but also for a system full of injustice. Andrew Myers is not an ordinary man, but his simple appearance might lead others to think otherwise. Contrary to the image of a simple old man in a shabby coat, Andrew is actually a successful businessman, known in the financial and business circles as someone with foresight and excellent investment strategies. Coming from a working-class family, Andrew started his career with nothing but his bare hands. He understands the value of hard work and knows that success does not come from luck, but from perseverance and the ability to seize opportunities. Over the years, Andrew has built a massive fortune through wise investments and the development of the businesses he manages. His name is associated with smart financial decisions, always focusing on creating long-term value rather than chasing short-term profits. Although possessing enough wealth to live a luxurious life, Andrew still chooses to live simply and humbly. He does not care about displaying wealth through luxury items or an ostentatious lifestyle. For him, a person's true value does not lie in what they own, but in how they treat others and the impact they have on the community. Andrew values character and ethics above all else. He believes that no matter how wealthy or successful you are, it means nothing if you don't know how to respect and treat everyone around you fairly. These values have shaped him and how he handles every challenge in life. The mockery and disdain that Andrew endured at the car dealership awakened a strong determination within him, not only to respond to the injustice he had just experienced, but also to prove that, in any environment, kindness and respect must be core values. With a strong financial foundation and extensive connections, Andrew knew that he not only had the ability to change the fate of a car dealership, but could also turn it into a valuable lesson for all those who had ever underestimated the value of humility. On that quiet night, Andrew didn't need to don a flashy appearance or make grand gestures to prove himself. He knew that great change would come from decisive action and sharp strategy, something he had mastered his entire life. His plan began to take shape, and Andrew was ready for the move that would completely change the game. When he returned home after a day full of disappointments, Andrew Myers did not let negative emotions linger. Instead, he immediately transformed the hurt into motivation to take action. With the instinct of a sharp entrepreneur, Andrew quickly devised a detailed plan to completely change the situation he had just experienced. He not only wanted to respond to the disrespect, but also to turn this agency into a testament to the value of humility and respect. Andrew spent the evening making a series of important calls. The business relationships he had built over decades were quickly activated. With his name and reputation, mobilizing the necessary resources to implement the plan was not a difficult task. Andrew not only has money, but also the ability to recognize opportunities and implement them effectively. He started by contacting several close legal and financial advisors to proceed with the agency acquisition procedures. Through quick yet sharp negotiations, Andrew ensured that the complete acquisition of the agency's ownership would be finalized in less than 24 hours. With high determination and thorough preparation, he did not let any obstacles slow down his progress. Andrew's preparation not only demonstrates his decisiveness, but also proves his long-term vision. He didn't just acquire a car dealership. He saw the potential to turn it into a model business where every customer is treated fairly and with respect. The decision to acquire the dealership in record time was not an impulsive act, but the first step in a larger plan to change the work culture here. By the early morning of the next day, the procedures were completed. Andrew didn't need any fanfare or declarations. He quietly prepared for his return to the agency, this time in a completely different capacity. Andrew knew that the change he was bringing would not only be a personal response, but also an opportunity to convey a powerful message. Every business, big or small, must build its values on respect and professional ethics. Andrew's decisiveness and vision in this situation are not only a manifestation of a successful entrepreneur, but also a model of how people can act intelligently and resolutely to turn adversity into opportunity. The next morning, Andrew Myers returned to the car dealership looking no different than the day before. Still in his old coat, worn shoes, and his usual calm demeanor, he walked through the dealership's shiny glass doors. The space remained the same. Luxurious cars displayed brilliantly, employees busy with customers they deemed worthy. None of them, including Garrett Blake or Thomas Green, the manager, noticed his presence. To them, Andrew was still just an unknown old man. However, this time, Andrew stepped in not just as a customer, but as the new owner of the entire place. In his heart, there was no smugness or anger, only a determination to make the necessary changes to rectify the injustices and arrogance he had witnessed. Andrew slowly walked towards the reception desk, where Thomas Green, the agency manager, was standing, directing the staff. Seeing him approach, Thomas forced a smile, clearly still not recognizing the man he had overlooked yesterday. "Hello, sir. How can I assist you today?" Thomas asked, his voice polite but full of pretense. Andrew didn't answer right away. Instead, he took out a neatly organized file from his pocket and placed it on the table. "I think you should read this before we talk," he said, his voice calm but slightly sharp. Thomas, though confused, still opened the file. When he read the first line, his face shifted from curiosity to astonishment, then turned pale as he realized the contents inside. The documents confirming the agency's ownership. This, Thomas stammered, unable to believe his eyes. Andrew nodded slightly. "That's right," he said, his tone calm yet no less authoritative. "From today, I am the new owner of this dealership." The atmosphere in the dealership seemed to freeze. The other employees, including Garrett Blake, gradually realized what was happening. Whispers began to rise, and all eyes turned towards Andrew. Garrett, who had mocked Andrew yesterday, looked as if he had just been dealt a heavy blow. His face showed clear signs of confusion and worry when he realized that the man he had looked down upon was actually his new boss. Andrew stepped forward, looking around the room with a stern expression. "I came here yesterday," he began, his voice loud enough for everyone in the agency to hear. "At that time, I was just a customer. I didn't come here to attract attention or demand anything special. I just want to find a new car." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the faces that now clearly showed signs of worry and shame. "But instead of being treated with basic respect, I was ignored, disdained, and even mocked. You not only hurt me, but you also tarnished the reputation of this agency." Andrew's words were like a powerful blow, causing the entire room to fall silent. "Now, everything will change," he continued, his voice deep but resolute. "I do not accept a work environment based on arrogance and discrimination. Starting today, I will completely reset the culture here." Andrew's statement was not only a shock to the employees, but also the beginning of a journey to completely turn the situation around, from a place full of arrogance and injustice to a fair and professional working environment. After announcing the new ownership, Andrew did not hesitate to take strong actions to restore order at the dealership. He understood that to change an environment deeply entrenched in negative habits, it was necessary to start from the root, namely the leaders and employees who directly contributed to creating this toxic culture. Andrew turned back to face Thomas Green, the agency's executive director, who was still standing there with a pale face, his hands trembling as he held a stack of documents. "Thomas," Andrew said, his voice calm but icy, "the role of a leader is not just to run a business, but also to create a respectful and fair working environment. You have failed in that." Thomas tried to explain, stammering, "Mr. Myers, I can explain." But Andrew raised his hand to signal him to be quiet. "I don't need an explanation," he said, his voice unwavering. "I need action, and you have done nothing to stop the contemptuous attitude towards customers that I and many others have experienced. Therefore, you are no longer suitable to continue holding a leadership role here. You are fired, effective immediately." Andrew's decisive statement left the entire room in silence. Thomas stood there, motionless for a few seconds, before bowing his head and quietly leaving the agency. Andrew continued with the other employees. His gaze stopped on Garrett Blake, who was standing in the corner with a stiff and anxious expression. "Garrett Blake," Andrew called his name, his voice resonating strongly. Garrett flinched, trying to maintain his composure, but unable to hide his fear. "You have shown me exactly the kind of attitude that I cannot accept here," Andrew said, his voice full of authority. "You have disrespected me, mocked me, and even bothered to hide your contempt. Your actions not only insulted me, but also harmed the reputation of this agency. I don't need people like you on my team. You are fired immediately." Garrett tried to speak up in protest, but Andrew's stern gaze made him hesitate to say anything. He quietly packed his belongings and left the agency under the gaze of his colleagues, a mix of astonishment and a lesson for everyone. Then, Andrew continued to name other employees, those he knew had directly or indirectly contributed to the arrogant and unprofessional work culture. Some were immediately fired, while others received stern warnings with reminders that any similar behavior would never be tolerated in the future. Andrew's initial actions were not only the beginning of a transformation at the agency, but also sent a powerful message. No one, regardless of their position, is allowed to disregard the value of respect and fairness. He did not do these things out of revenge, but to lay the foundation for a new work environment where everyone understands that attitude and professional ethics are the most important factors for success. After restoring order by removing unprofessional staff, Andrew turned to another crucial part of his plan: selecting the right people to lead and convey the values he wanted to build at this agency. While scanning the remaining employees, Andrew's gaze stopped at Laura Bennett, a young employee standing silently in the corner of the room. This girl didn't stand out in the crowd, but Andrew remembered her very clearly. Yesterday, amidst the atmosphere of disdain and indifference, It was Laura who was the only one to offer him a friendly smile. Even though she was not a direct sales employee and had no obligation to help him, she still nodded and greeted him as she passed by, a small but meaningful gesture. Andrew walked towards Laura. The young girl, though a bit confused and anxious about the situation, remained calm. "Laura Bennett?" Andrew spoke up, causing the entire room to turn their gaze towards her. "Yes, sir," she replied, her voice trembling slightly but full of respect. Andrew looked straight at her, his eyes full of encouragement. "I observed you yesterday," he said. "While others ignored me or showed contempt, you were the only one who displayed kindness, even through a small gesture. That shows me that she understands the value of treating others well, regardless of who they are." Laura bowed her head, her face flushed with embarrassment, but her eyes clearly showed joy and gratitude. Andrew continued, his voice resonating strongly but filled with confidence. "Starting today, you will take on the role of floor manager. I believe that you will lead this team with respect and kindness, qualities that have been sorely lacking here for too long." Whispers echoed again in the room. Some employees seemed surprised, and some even expressed doubt. Laura has only been working at the agency for 6 months and is still very young. However, Andrew did not pay attention to those glances or gossip. "Here, I don't care about seniority or flashy appearances," Andrew said firmly. "I care about character." Those who have respect and know how to treat others properly will always have opportunities to develop and contribute. Laura is a testament to that. Laura, though surprised by this decision, firmly nodded and thanked Andrew with a more confident tone. "I will do my best, sir. Thank you for trusting me." The decision to appoint Laura not only reflects Andrew's philosophy on the importance of character, but also sends a strong message to all employees. This is no longer a place for those who are good at flattery or boasting. This is a place where human values, kindness, and a professional work ethic are prioritized. The skeptical looks gradually disappeared, replaced by curiosity and hope. With her new role, Laura stepped into her position, ready to lead a team that she knew would have to change a lot, but it was precisely that which made her more determined than ever. Andrew, from afar, smiled gently. This is just the beginning, but he believes that with the right people, everything will get better. Right after reorganizing the leadership team, Andrew Myers embarked on a comprehensive overhaul aimed at changing the working culture at the agency. He understood that to rebuild the agency's reputation and customer trust, it needed to operate based on new values, values that reflected his own philosophy of life and business: respect, fairness, and humility. Andrew summoned all the remaining staff at the agency to announce the new operating principles. He stood before everyone, his voice strong yet equally compelling. "From today, every customer who walks through this door, regardless of how they dress or look, will receive absolute respect. We do not judge people based on their appearance or assumptions about their financial capabilities. Our mission is to provide customers with the best experience, making them feel that they are always welcome and valued." The new principles established by Andrew are clear, not just empty words, but accompanied by practical actions. He emphasized that anyone who does not adhere to these values will have no place in the agency. To ensure that the change is implemented thoroughly, Andrew also undertook a restructuring of the staff. He spent time interviewing and recruiting new employees, focusing on those who not only had good work skills, but also shared core values of humility and responsibility. In interviews, Andrew often asks questions that not only revolve around expertise, but also assess the candidate's attitude and personal viewpoints. He wants to ensure that the new team not only knows how to sell cars, but also understands the importance of building trust and relationships with customers. The new team has been thoroughly trained on how to communicate with customers, from greeting them with a sincere smile to carefully listening to their needs. Andrew also encourages employees to share ideas and contribute suggestions to build a positive and united work environment together. The cultural change is spreading rapidly. Returning customers to the dealership begin to notice the difference right from their first interactions. The staff not only serve the customers, but also strive to make them feel comfortable and respected. A customer who had been ignored before returned, surprised by the warm welcome they received. Praise began to spread, and the dealership quickly regained its reputation, not only for the quality of the cars, but also for the professionalism and friendliness of the staff. Andrew does not consider this a personal achievement, but rather the success of a collective built on the right values. He knows that to maintain this change, continuous effort is required from both himself and his team. But with this beginning, he believes that the agency has taken solid steps to become a place where anyone would want to visit and experience. The strong reforms under Andrew Myers' leadership quickly brought about noticeable results. The dealership, once criticized for its indifferent and arrogant attitude, has now become a model of professionalism and friendliness. Thanks to the strictly enforced new principles and a team of enthusiastic staff, every customer who walks in can feel the difference from the very first minute. Customers who had been forgotten before began to return, not because of calls or advertisements, but because of word-of-mouth praise from those who had experienced the positive changes. Positive reviews quickly spread throughout the community, from social media posts to everyday conversations. Customers not only come to buy cars, but are also attracted by the warm and professional atmosphere at the dealership. A customer once shared, "I never thought that buying a car could be such a pleasant experience." The staff not only provided thorough advice, but also genuinely cared about my needs. The change in service not only improved the dealership's reputation, but also significantly boosted sales. The cars that used to sit idle on the showroom floor are now quickly being taken out of the showroom as the number of customers increases day by day. Andrew is not only satisfied with the immediate results, he continues to implement new business strategies to improve the sales process and after-sales service. The promotional programs are designed to meet the actual needs of customers, accompanied by service commitments such as extended warranties or dedicated technical support. The dealership's revenue not only exceeded expectations, but also set new records. Within a few months, this place became one of the most prominent car dealerships in the region, attracting the attention not only of customers, but also of competitors. Not only stopping at business success, the agency has also become a symbol in the community for its ethical and humane way of working. Local organizations have even invited Andrew to share his experience in restructuring and how he created a work environment based on respect and kindness. The lessons from Andrew and his team are not just business lessons, but also reminders of the value of valuing people, from employees to customers. The dealership's reputation continues to spread far and wide, and people from all over want to visit, not just to buy cars, but also to experience the exemplary service that has become the hallmark of this place. Andrew, despite having achieved great accomplishments, always maintains humility. For him, success is not about sales or profits, but about transforming a place full of negativity into a positive environment and inspiring many others. The dealership is not just a successful business, but also a vibrant symbol of how kindness and fairness can change everything. Andrew Myers' story is a powerful testament to the strength of humility and kindness. He used these very values as the foundation to completely transform the work culture of a car dealership that was rife with arrogance and prejudice. Through his actions, Andrew not only proved that humility is not a weakness, but a source of strength that can drive sustainable and meaningful change. What is special about Andrew is that his goal is not to take revenge on those who have looked down on him, but to create an environment where everyone is treated with respect. By restructuring the team, establishing core values, and focusing on people rather than short-term profits, he has built a sustainable success model that not only brings business benefits, but also creates a positive impact on the community. One afternoon, Andrew walked slowly through the vibrant showroom, where customers and staff were smiling and chatting in a friendly atmosphere. The shiny cars still lay quietly there, but what stood out the most was the positive atmosphere and mutual respect among everyone. Andrew looked around, feeling a quiet yet profound joy in his heart. He did not feel satisfied because of power or financial achievements, but because he knew he had created a place where everyone, from customers to employees, felt valued and understood. Before leaving the showroom, Andrew stopped and smiled at Laura Bennett, the new floor manager who was guiding a young employee. Under her guidance, the values he had sown are spreading day by day. Andrew's story conveys a powerful and profound message. The true value of a person does not lie in their appearance or status, but in how they treat those around them. Andrew Myers has proven that humility and kindness not only have the power to change a business, but can also create long-lasting and much more meaningful impacts. By upholding human values, he has left an indelible mark, not only in the business world, but also in the hearts of those who have walked through the doors of his dealership.